place. I'm doing fine, I'm feeling great. You're not my fan, you can't relate. Straight talk going, stay not safe. Before you cross me, look both ways. Leaving the scene with no trace, none in my league. You out of place, I'm not at the top, I'm outer space. Can't eat with us, we're out of place. I'm doing fine, I'm feeling great. You're not my fan, you can't relate. Straight talk going, state to state.
What's going on, guys? It's your host, your boy, George Mackay, and as you can see, I am not alone. I am joined by one of the premier factions. No, scratch that. The premier faction in Ontario indie wrestling. From singles titles to tag titles to trios titles. If there is a title in Ontario, they've either won it, contended for it, or found a way to steal it. And that's the honest truth. Please help me welcome the three members of one of my favorite factions, the undeniable Matt Grant, Crystal Moon, and the reject J.T. Kirk. Yes, I said it right.
He practiced it so much to try to get my name right, and he messed up yours, man.
I know.
Okay. So time out. So not only does Crystal not even get a nickname, but I don't even get my proper nickname. What the fuck's going on here?
I don't know. I tried to search your Instagram beforehand. I've never introduced her as any kind of nickname. What's your nickname, Crystal? Fuck's sakes.
The biscuit.
Okay, fine. Let me scratch it again. Let me just wipe the whole fucking thing and start all over again. Son of a bitch.
Sorry, do your fucking job properly. Jesus.
What a fucking little midget fucking bastard. Oh, all right. What is your nickname again? Oh, no, it's the standard. All right. Let me welcome for the second time properly, because I rehearsed 1 out of 3 because I didn't want to fuck his name up, because I fuck his name up all the time. The reject, J.T. Kirk. The standard, Matthew Grant, and the misfit, Crystal Moon. They are Empire. Welcome to Straight Talk Wrestling again, everyone. How are all of you?
Not too bad.
There it is.
So my first question, because you are not the first faction that I have interviewed. I actually interviewed Dynasty a few weeks ago, and they're an up-and-coming faction, someone you guys probably might tangle with if you haven't already tangled with. And they actually mentioned you as one of the premier factions that they would like to tangle with. Now, looking at Dynasty and everything there's Mikey Truth, who's definitely a mouthpiece, much like you, Matt. There is Sway Archer, who's got, speed, agility. That matches well with Crystal. And then I would have to say power for power. You got JT and Jackson Roy. When you look at a faction that is almost equal in every part, other than the fact that, you guys have Crystal, and she's fucking dangerous. I've seen her in the ring. What is it like in the mindset when you can say that other factions in Ontario that are starting up now, because factions here weren't always a thing. There was groups, there was tag teams, but not really a solid foundation of a faction. When you see other factions coming up, how excited are you to know that you're on the list of people they would love to get in the ring with?
It's nice for me personally because I'm never really that guy that's on people's lists. So the fact that we're kind of like setting the groundwork for like people to, go towards the faction direction a little bit more. Even in the Hamilton scene, there wasn't too much of a tag team scene, and that's partial to the reason why David and I got together in the first place. And then, here we are now, and there's 5, 6, 7 tag teams coming out of Hamilton now, and that makes me so happy because guys are seeing that tag team wrestling matters and factions matter. When it comes to Dynasty in particular, actually, once upon a time, I was supposed to wrestle Sway Archer for the HWE Cruiserweight Championship back in April. Match did not happen due to an injury, unfortunately, and it's something that actually I was really looking forward to. When it comes to Mikey Truth, I've seen him up close and personal. We did the HWE Battle Zone tapings, and he's somebody who I've had my eyes on for a while. And then Jackson Roy, he's a big boy. I've seen him in a couple of matches as of late, and he's the real deal, man. I would not want to be chucked across the ring by him, but I see a serious potential in the three of them, especially as a faction. So all I can say is keep it up, and I'm sure we'll see you in the ring soon.
I like that. Confidence is key. But it's cool when you can lay the foundation, the groundwork, and know that what you kind of started is now percolating in a sense and creating an atmosphere that we don't have here. Because let's be honest, indie wrestling, it's hard to really build storylines or even keep groups going. Because in some promotions, you're not even on the same side, right? For example, Crossbody, the most recent show I think was back sometime in October. You actually aligned yourself, Matt, with Ben, and JT aligned himself with somebody else. So it's weird that it's hard to, I guess, mesh the storylines across all platforms, but you guys have done a pretty good job as a whole of sticking together as a group or coming in as a core, whether it be at HWE with Crystal, always underhandedly finding a way to help you win. And I've talked to her about that, and I've told her numerous times she's better than you in almost every aspect in terms of like
I know, dude. You don't need to tell me she's better than me. She is better than me. She is literally one of the best wrestlers, not women's wrestlers, one of the best wrestlers in Canada right now, in my personal opinion. No, I mean that shit, man. Crystal Moon's gonna take the world by storm. I promise you. And there's a reason why there was no question when we thought about bringing a third member in Empire, it was going to be Crystal Moon.
So well, let's talk about that. Bringing in the third member in Crystal Moon. What was the conversation that you two guys had? Like, I mean, you probably had your eyes on a couple other talents, but I mean, you ultimately decided on Crystal, and it was obviously a recipe for success. It was like adding, Parmesan cheese to an already great plate of pasta. JT being the meatballs and Matt kind of being the sauce at the bottom of the plate, but it worked. The layers worked. But I mean, with bringing in a new member, you're always wondering about the chemistry, but I know behind the scenes you guys have been friends and like road buddies and all that kind of stuff for a very long time. So I guess the symmetry just had already meshed and you just had to make it official, right?
Yeah, I would say that would be the case. Like you said it best. Like we had our eyes on a couple of people, and there's no secret about that. But like when it comes to Crystal, in my personal opinion, there was no better fit. She's one of my best friends inside and outside of the ring. And I can speak for JT when we say that as well. And it's like, it's something where we just understand each other. We click. There's no like second guesses when it comes to the three of us together. We've traveled up and down the roads, from Ottawa to New Brunswick and everywhere in between Ontario. And like, I truly feel that the three of us together, when you get us at our best, man, there is no stopping us. Yeah, we have our off nights from time to time. Everybody does. But like, I truly feel like we are one of the best factions, not just in Ontario, not just in Canada, but like when it comes to consistency on the independent scene right now. I can confidently say that the branding that we have behind us, the amount of, money that we've spent on investing in ourselves when it comes to entrance teams, gear, merchandise, you name it, we're on top of it. And I think that's a very important part of being a faction, not just what you bring in the ring, but what you bring outside of the ring as well.
And I feel like the main thing that helps us be as good as we are is we all have the same mentality and essentially just trying to take over the world.
I like that. Taking over the world. Taking over the world.
It's pinky in the brain. It's pinky in the brain. That's all you can really say.
Well, now, okay, so we're going to play a little game later called How Well Do You Know Your Faction Mates? But in the interim, who's Pinky and who's the brain?
I'm not even going to answer that one. I'm going to throw it under the
Crystal, I'll field that question to you. Who's Pinky?
I feel honestly, I don't think I'm not brain. That's for sure. But I don't know if I'm Pinky. Like, I feel like I'm more Pinky than I am brain. Mm-hmm. But is there a middle? Like,
well, you guys could be the Animaniacs because there was two brothers and a sister. So you could be Dot. You could be Dot.
Close enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and Matt.
I smell a parody shirt coming soon.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. If there is a parody shirt, all I ask is that I get one on the house because I thought of that idea.
It's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good. All right, so let's talk about like I said, if there's tag team titles, you've either held it or contended for it. If there's singles titles, you've held it or contended for it, and obviously trios titles as well, which is becoming more of a common thing as we go across the Ontario indie scene landscape. You actually represented PWO for a very long time as their trios champions, and unfortunately, at not the last New Frontier show, but the New Frontier before Worlds Collide, that was an off night. That was a night where it was hard because it was Tarek, Johnny DeLuca, and oh my God, I'm gonna kick myself. But who was the third member?
Kyle Boone.
I love smacking the shit out of Kyle Boone. I really do.
Yeah, there we go. So I didn't forget it on purpose. I'm just super tired, and I'm a dad, and it's not an excuse. It's just the fucking truth of the matter. Kids drive you crazy. That's why I'm wearing the hat, because my hairline is thinning a lot more than I'd like these days. So I got to try to hide it. But you have a rare off night when you're going in the ring with arguably one of the hottest up and comers is Johnny DeLuca. Kyle Boone is no slouch himself, and then you've got Tarek, who is arguably the best pound for pound striker in the world, not just Ontario, in the fucking world.
Okay.
And you all took some shots equally. Matt, I remember one shot from Tarek that was just a holy fuck. Well, I remember one.
So I walked out of that match with a black eye. When he popped me up and kicked me in the face, directly in the face. I was, yep.
Well, you wouldn't know from the commentary table where I was telling the story. You wouldn't know. You kept it in check. You finished the match like a G, and it's a credit to you. I don't give Matt Grant compliments very often, but when I do, they're heartfelt and sincere. Except that
as you can see, I don't know if it's picking up real well, but Gabriel Flores caught me in the nose this past weekend too.
Your face is just a beacon or a bullseye for taking shots, eh?
Pretty much. People just like hitting me in the face. I get it.
So what is it like? I mean, I guess in the early stages of the faction, being underestimated. Because I mean, you look at like I said, the juxtaposition is not in any way, shape, or form slouch at you guys, but the juxtaposition, I mean, you got JT, almost, close to 6 feet, if not over 6 feet. You got yourself, and you got Crystal. It's like kind of like small, medium, large. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It's just people would look at you and be like, yeah, these guys are going to run through. And then all of a sudden, a whisper turns into a yell, and it becomes this kind of barrel that just keeps rolling downhill. And all of a sudden, people realize not only is Empire a faction not to be fucked with, but they're also a faction that can fuck you up if you turn your back on them. It's a cardinal rule. Whenever we introduce Empire at New Frontier, I always mention the fact that with 2 is 3, with 1 is 3, with 3 is 3. There's always Empire always rides together. So it's really hard to build any strategy because any given night, JT could show up, Crystal could show up, Matt Grant could slide in the ring and just cause a distraction. Empire is very dangerous and very calculated, and I will say that with the utmost respect. When I'm commentating and telling an Empire story, I look forward to it because I know you guys are always going to give it 150%. But to go from that now where you're so respected in the Ontario indie scene as being one of the premier factions, and I'll forward this question to you first, JT, and then I'll get Crystal's spit and Matt's turn on it as well. But when you look at it from where it was to where it is now, you kind of got to sit back and have that little smile on your face like, we fucking did this. We built this shit.
Which is a weird statement because I don't know if it's the pandemic or anything like that, but I don't feel like we haven't been around for that long, at least in wrestling wise. So to like, I still feel weird when people see us as like the veterans of certain locker rooms and stuff like that. It's still difficult to handle.
Crystal, what's your thoughts on that?
I think at the beginning, I think people definitely underestimated us because there's not many factions that have 2 guys and 1 girl, right? It's not popular. It's usually 3 guys. So I think at first when I was introduced, it was like, oh, and I'm not the biggest either. So I think it was very much a surprise. But I think now as we develop as a team and I develop as an individual, it's kind of it's our secret weapon, right? Like they underestimate me and they underestimate us, and then we come out and kick ass, right? So I think at first it was maybe what's the word I'm looking for? It was definitely something that we were in. So people, but when introduced me, I think it's now our biggest secret weapon. I think not so secret weapon.
No, not anymore. It's definitely well known. Matt, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so and Crystal said it perfectly. I have that same thing where people since day one have been underestimating me, and I think they still do to an extent. You kind of look at the size, you kind of are like, you don't really anticipate it. I mean, even at my shoot job, when I tell people I'm a wrestler, they're like, "What?" I don't understand. And then you kind of see now, when we show up to shows and we're advertised for events, it's really weird because we'll walk out into an audience and I'll look around and I'll see Empire shirts all over the place now. And I'm like, what is going on? What is this strange dynamic? Because I used to be that fan sitting in that row, wearing a, Ethan Page, a Josh Alexander shirt. And now people are doing the same thing for me. And it's the weirdest dynamic. Like even JT said, where it's like, we're veterans in some locker rooms. People look up to us in some locker rooms. And it's like, I'm not okay. that still stresses me out a little bit. And like, yes, I have a bit of confidence in a sense, and like I've grown to, I guess, accept that. But in the same sense, it throws me off, man. Like the anxiety is real when it comes to that stuff. Like, I just think of like when I worked Gabe, at HWE. He was very much like, this is your locker room, this is your match, and I'm just like, dude, like, no, like you're literally the best unsigned talent in Ontario today, and like this is your match, man. Like I'm just riding along for it. But like to have that kind of like respect and for people to have, done a complete 180 on us. I even remember like Mark Shaw has told me like, when I won the open weight championship, and I'm sure when I won the Youngblood championship, people were kind of questioning it. And now to again do that 180 and for people to be like, no, like we want to see you with championships, we want to see you in these big time matches, we want to see you featured. It's weird, man. It's really weird.
It is, but you know what I gotta say? I mean, like, one of the proudest moments I have as an indie wrestling fan is that storyline with the Dirty Vets. When it finally ended and Empire got to raise the belts, and I bought a shirt that night, and because it was it was the newer shirt. It was the black one with the gold crown and Empire. And I love that shirt. I was like, that design's sick. I'll buy that one. Because like if it had JT's face on it, would have been okay. But if it had Matt's, I would have had to like black tape over it and stuff. Like it would have been weird. The juxtaposition would have fucked me up. But no, it was a proud moment as an Empire fan. And just to see you guys, ride with those championships for a bit and then do the 180 and all of a sudden the crowd getting that heat. And that's something that, I mean, a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people think it's so easy to get heat. It's not, man. It's not. You really got to work to make motherfucking people hate you. You got to make work for somebody to pull out their hard-earned money, buy a ticket just to give you the middle finger in the front row. And that's all they came to do. Is to literally give you the middle finger or tell you suck or tell you this and that. So in gaining heat, and I mean, I guess I'll field this question to Crystal first, because Crystal, it's hard to hate you. It's hard to fucking hate you because you're one of the sweetest people I know outside the ring. Same thing with you two guys. You two guys are great. Matt to an extent. No, he knew I was gonna bust his chops all the time. Honest truth, Matt Grant is somebody that's like a brother to me, and you guys are actually one of the first few people that gave me a compliment when I was starting out the podcast, and I had you two guys on. You guys were like shocked and awe with the research that I had put in preparing for that interview. And today I know I fucked up some names, but I also did it just to piss people off. But I really wanted to make sure I got his name fucking right, because if I didn't, it would have shit all over me. But Crystal, what's it like to get that heat now? Again, being so hard to hate Crystal Moon, because you look at Crystal Moon, you're like, fuck, I just love this girl. This is like my little sister. Now when I see her, I'm like, oh, what a fucking bitch. What a bitch.
I know. At first it was really hard because I was just so used to being that baby face that people wanted to get behind, right? Like, because everyone has been in my position, like worked really hard to get something that they loved. So they were always behind me. So to get that heat, it was struggle for a bit. And I know I had conversations with Matt because he's a natural heat magnet. Let's be real. Like, how do you do it? Like, I need some advice, right? So like picking his brain and like picking some of my coach's brain, especially Ted. He knows how to run his mouth and to say the right things to get the heat. So picking different people's brains to get that heat, and I'm always obviously still working on it. So yeah, it's just unleashing my inner bitch. And I just think that the crowd doesn't love dogs, and then I'm just really mean to them. That's what I do.
I look at you as like the little chihuahua that'll bite your ankles and then eventually snip the Achilles heel and make you fall to your feet. And then all of a sudden it turns into a really vicious, like I've always wanted to see it. Would you buy a ticket for that? A horror movie where the killer is a psycho chihuahua? Would you guys buy a ticket to see that?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. We should write a script like that. What should we call it?
Matt Grant bites your ankles, because I'm a fucking chihuahua too.
That's true. And we could have the dog wearing an Empire shirt throughout the whole movie. It'll be fucking amazing. It'll be incredible. Product placement.
I have one of my dogs here. We need to get. He's sleeping.
I was gonna say, I thought I'd seen some legs. there.
He looks like he's had a rough night. He's passed right out.
I know he didn't even take his jacket off.
He's just like, fuck this, life is out. So here's a question for you, JT. In terms of keeping the faction going from promotion to promotion, where some promotions you are heel, some promotions you are face, some promotions you're the anti-hero, because that is a subgenre in some cultures where people don't necessarily like you, they don't hate you, but at that moment you're what they need in order to get rid of who they really fucking hate. It's like, I'm indifferent about Empire, but I'm going to cheer for them because I hate these fucking guys way more than I do that. So in the juxtaposition of trying to keep the flow of Empire, the faction as it is, how hard is it working with sometimes different promoters in terms of keeping Empire in that foundation that's been built solid?
First off, you mentioned our match with Grizzled Vets, or our feud with the Dirty
Grizzled
Vets.
Vets.
Dirty Vets, sorry. The Dirty
He
Vets.
loves himself some NXT. He loves himself some NXT.
That feud definitely made us early on in our tag team for sure. But when it comes to, you're saying different promotions, face heel, and stuff like that, I feel like we're essentially the same thing no matter what we're portraying or what the fans see us as. We're still gonna do whatever it takes to win. Sometimes it takes a little underhanding tactics, you know.
It's weird because I feel like we've been on this roller coaster, and like for me personally, I'm finding it more than ever lately. Where like I started off as a baby face, then went immediately heel, and like we rode that heel wave for a while. I really feel, but then it almost got to a point where people like, all right, we kind of respect these underhanded tactics, and we're kind of like, all right, we kind of dig these guys a little bit. We don't exactly want to see their faces get punched in that much. We're in that very in between area right now where like people like dig what we're doing and like are starting to cheer for us. Like I mentioned earlier, like walking out and seeing Empire shirts. I think people are starting to realize like, okay, these guys are actually around for the long haul. They actually believe in themselves. They actually like want to put the time and the effort in and invest in themselves. And like I think that's stuff people see from an outside perspective where that's really important. And I think where you can have somebody come out and be an ultra baby face. You can have somebody come out and be an ultra heel, but the fact that we can kind of do both and be comfortable in those positions, I think is huge.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely a little feather in the cap for sure to have those layers. I guess my next question is, you talked about time and investment and also financially investing in yourself, putting in that money to make sure the merch is top tier, to make sure, the gear is top tier. For any young up and coming wrestler like watching this conversation, how important is that? Like percentage wise, break it down for me. Like, is it 40% skill? Is it 20% merch? And is it, 40% belief? Like, what's the percentage breakdown of how to really achieve what you want in this business? Not so much success, because everybody's level of success is different. But what's the percentage that you guys believe you put in order to achieve where you are now and where you're going?
Speaking personally, and I'll let them say for themselves what they think, but I think branding is a lot of it. Anybody can walk out the curtain and do the basics, do the fundamentals, and have a wrestling match. But to connect with an audience, to look like a professional, to sound like a professional, to have promos, to have your custom theme music, to have 8x10s, to have shirts, to have a logo, to have a name, to have a nickname, even stupid little things. And this is something that I'll kind of pull back the curtain a little bit. JT Kirk for a while had like different social media handles for each of his social media. And for me, like that's a big thing where like if you're looking up somebody on social media, you don't want to remember what handle they're going by. You want everything to kind of be like all together. So it's like when you look me up, it's at Matthew Grant First Days of Four across all platforms. When you look JT Kirk up now, he's changed it to where he's at reject_JT all over the place. It's just little things like branding yourself properly so that you don't have to overcomplicate things for people is a huge thing for me. Again, anybody can be a pro wrestler, but I think those things are huge. Connecting with a crowd and making yourself known is big.
JT, what's your thoughts on that?
He can't be any more like false on the statement. I don't know.
Did you mean to say I couldn't be any more right on the statement?
I don't know. Anyway,
Were
All
you
right.
agreeing with me or not?
I was agreeing with you.
He agrees 100%. Crystal, what about your thoughts? Anything to add to that?
Yeah, like I'll touch on the whole like looking like a professional and gear wise, and like I'll go personally, like, so I feel like I hit a new level in my career when I got custom gear designed and made. Once I got that custom gear designed and made, it was like I stepped through that curtain and they're like, okay, she's taking it seriously. She believes in herself enough to invest all that money into her look. And I think for anybody new that like maybe isn't 100% confident, I think once you get that new gear that you've designed that you believe is yourself, it adds to it. And you step through that curtain and they look at you, and a lot of people, it's their first like set of eyes on you, and they see you in this new professional gear, they'll give you a chance. Like, as bad as that sounds, but like it's a looks business, right? Like that's a big part of it. So having that professional gear, I think is huge. Yeah.
That also adds.
I've got.
Oh, I was gonna say that also adds to confidence. If you're wrestling in something you feel comfortable in, you're more confident in what you're doing.
Two things to add to that. For one, like Crystal and I can speak specifically on this too, because she wrestled in Sailor Moon gear for a little bit of her career, and I wrestled in jeans. And like people were looking at us, I'm sure, and certain people were kind of like, not exactly sure what to think. But then again, once we both upgraded, it was like, okay, these guys actually want it. And like a particular aspect where I can truly say that like I recognize that is when we took that trip to New Brunswick. And this is nothing against the people that are out there, but there's some people that just, we're wrestling in jeans, we're wrestling in cargo pants, didn't have necessarily the best looking merchandise. And we came the whole 9 yards with our jackets, with our gear, with our professional merch, our custom music, and everybody kind of it was almost like people were kind of blown away by how like serious we were about it at this stage, being only a couple of years in. So I think things like that are very important, where yes, again, at the end of the day, anybody can go out and wrestle a match, but I think those extra up and above things are what you need to focus on more than anything. Don't get me wrong, training and everything is important, and I highly recommend doing that too. You can never stop learning, but I feel like again, those up and above things are also very, very important.
I would have to agree for sure. In developing the faction and the matches that you've had so far as a trios, what would you say is one of the best matches, or the matches you look back at in this run thus far as Empire, as the layers begin? And history will rewrite itself again and again, but what would you say is one of the coolest matches you three have had together thus far in this faction's life?
Well, you have to bring up the ladder match, the trios, triple threat trios ladder match that we won the trios title on.
My first run as the trios champions. Yeah, that match was absolutely insane. 9 people, 3 different teams. Had some crazy stuff going down in that match. It's on YouTube for free. It blew up when it first got uploaded. Yeah. It was one of those things where I was like, whoa, this is a real thing. We got myself and Tyler got interviewed for Body Slam, the website for the Edge Jeff Hardy tribute spot we did, and like Crystal took a power bomb off the second rope through a table, like jumped off the top of a ladder. There was just some crazy stuff that was going on during the match. Another one for me, and I don't think it's online yet, which is really disappointing, is the couple of matches we've had with the Dresslers. But the other match that I know is online, I just don't know whereabouts, is our match of Barry. So this was something we were looking forward to for a long time, was the match with Barry. It was supposed to be 2 separate matches when it was announced. It was us against Pretty Ricky and Puff, and Crystal Moon against Haley Dillon. There was a few things that ended up happening, so it ended up turning into a 6-person tag. And like literally the most chaotic match I think all three of us have ever been involved in.
The fact that the cameras they caught as much as they did was crazy.
Insane.
Like, I'm pretty sure Puff turned into real life Squirtle in that match, or sorry, real life Blastoise in that match.
Yeah, he definitely did. He definitely did. Yes. Yeah, I saw the hype.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I would say the Barry match and the PWO stuff we've been doing as of late has been like top tier.
Yeah.
The chance to break out to New Frontier and to do the faction thing as well. Doing different stuff with myself and Crystal as a team. With HWE and with New Frontier, I think has been a lot of fun as well. Just getting a chance to branch out and do different things, but still involve the faction at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I mean, I look at.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, go ahead, Crystal. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, didn't mention it, but it's more like personal for me, getting to work with Tarek, who is, I don't know why he's not on my TV screen. He is absolutely fantastic. He's amazing. And since working with him multiple times through PWO, like, he's definitely taken an interest in my matches, like even my singles matches. He goes out of his way to give me feedback and to watch them, and he's excited to see me. So, like, personally from that, I've definitely gained, and I'm very, very fortunate. I know the guys to work with a mind like him, so I just wanted to touch base on that.
Absolutely. No, I 100% agree. And it's been a ride for me too, just because to think where we all were and to where we are now, that I get to be the narrator for some stories from Empire, which is the coolest fucking surreal thing for me. As much as I bust Grant's chop, when I get to tell a Matt Grant story, when I got to call that trios match and tell that story, those were some, sentimental moments for myself, just thinking, fuck, start off as an indie podcaster, not knowing fucking much about the scene that was out here, blew up, kind of built a brand and a name for myself to where, it's cool to when I can actually tell people, hey, we should get you back on the show. Fuck, I've been waiting for you to tell me about it. Actually, he said that. He'll deny it. Grant said that. He's like, oh, fuck, it's about time to ask us.
No, I won't deny it's accurate as hell, man. I was like, what the heck? Been waiting, dude.
I always tell everybody you can come back anytime. Just hit me up. It's always room for you guys. You guys are family. You're not friends, you're family. Crystal more so than you guys. And then, JT second, Matt, very bottom of the barrel. Like,
I'm just here.
Like, very like if I have a spider living in my house, the spider, then Matt.
Don't discriminate against the spiders.
I'm not discriminating against the spiders. Okay, whatever. I'm not discriminating. Okay, let's take a break from serious matches and let's play a little game. This game is kind of like a love connection game, but it's not. It's very similar. It's to where, how well do you know your faction mate? Now, the way to play this game is that I'm going to ask one question. Two people have to give me the same answer. If all three of you get different answers, then the question is vetoed. But if two people give me the same answer, then that person that they gave the answer on has to agree or disagree. And we'll see what the truth is. So a real easy question to start. Who is the most sensitive of the three? Just give me a name.
I'd probably say Crystal.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Okay, so Crystal, do you agree with that? Are you the most sensitive?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. That's fair. Okay, next
I was honestly gonna say me at first. I was genuinely like,
I was gonna say you, but then I had to think about it.
Okay. So Crystal's the most sensitive. Who has the weirdest cravings when you're on the road and it's like 2 a.m? Who has the absolute stupidest shit that they want to stop for?
I'd say me for sure.
What's one of the stupidest things that he's made you guys pull over for on the road and be like, I gotta get it now. I gotta get it.
Nothing like that. But when we went to New Brunswick, even though we went to like Burger King and some other places, those two state that they never saw me eat anything besides Rolo chocolate milk, and some sort of melon.
Yeah.
It's accurate. It's so accurate. When I see JT Kirk, this man has a Rolo milk in his hand. There's no question.
Yeah. And some kind of melon, watermelon, freaking cantaloupe. Every time I turned around in that car for the double-digit car ride, he had friggin' Rolo milk and melon. I couldn't believe it.
My favorite is like, so obviously I call myself a connoisseur of Red Bull. That's a whole thing. But like now we've made it a thing where like myself or Crystal or even like one of our the girlfriends or wife or whatever the case may be, somebody that's in our circle will randomly hand JT a fucking roll of milk and we'll all just pop so hard.
Yep. Yep.
I swear, for the first 2 weeks after the New Brunswick trip, in our group chat, we would just send pictures of Rolo milk and melon, like just to send a reminder.
All right, so
Like,
if anybody's looking for late Christmas gifts for JT, a case of Rolo chocolate milk will go a long fucking.
Oh, you have no idea.
No idea.
Like literally, I'd go to the corner store and just snap a picture of the roll milk, send it to the group chat, and literally the group chat would pop hard.
That's awesome. You guys got to get a shirt that says "Built on Rolo Milk." Like, it's
Oh yeah.
It's another good shirt.
Don't think I won't. Don't think I won't.
Who has the weirdest playlist? Like, whose musical playlist is the absolute one where it's like their turn to play music in a road trip? You're like, fuck, man. Okay, Grant. Grant is saying it's him. Do you guys agree with that? Does Grant have the?
So. I feel like, because go back to the New Brunswick trip, and it was the only two people that played music was Matt and Brother Earth, and they were both not great.
There was a lot of random stuff that was played for sure during that weekend.
Yeah, did he have some Sarah McLachlan on his playlist? I feel like he's a Sarah McLachlan guy. Huh?
No, I didn't have any of that. No.
There was no
It was
building
just a bunch of randomness.
You weren't building a mystery?
No, you'll just randomly hear fucking the Kirby theme song just randomly come on. It'll go from the Kirby theme song to 50 Cent to Nickelback to like it'll just be the most random fucking playlist of all time.
Random theme songs or like pay-per-view themes or whatever.
Oh yeah, I bet. And then he's that guy who's like, "Oh man, dude, do you remember this? Unforgiven '98. What a fucking tune, baby." Oh, I love it.
100%. That 100%. That's me.
All right, who is the shyest in the group?
JT.
Yeah, I was gonna say me. I wasn't sure if anybody else was gonna, but yeah, definitely me.
Okay, all right, I could see that. Shy, but not with me. Has no problem telling me to go fuck myself on a regular basis. I guess we built that relationship up. Don't you say anything, Matt. Don't you fucking say a thing, Matt. Say nothing. All right, and my final two questions, and then we'll get back in and talk a little bit more faction. Who has who's got the weirdest sleeping habits?
Yeah, probably Matt.
Crystal?
Yeah.
Sleep. I fucking nap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have like 2-3 hours at a time where I sleep. I don't really have like a full night of sleep. So yeah, I would say sleeping habits definitely would go to
probably
me.
caused by like years of dealing with mom and stuff, not being able to like have a full night of sleep.
Right.
Just to give some background information, not to go too deep on it, but like my mom's epileptic, so it was a lot of years of watching over her, and I think maybe there's a little bit of behind the scenes stuff there that I never really got over, but it's just that there's a lot where it comes to my my sleeping habits, and like I'm just a fucking maniac anyways too when it comes to sleeping. So
let me tell you, your sleep schedule will not improve if you have kids. If you and Aaron decide to have some children, the minute they are born, you will never sleep again. And I'm not talking about like the crying and stuff like that. It's the protectiveness. Like when I go upstairs, girl dad moment. But when I go upstairs, the girls are sleeping. I will peek my head in to both of their rooms and I'll watch them sleep for like 5 minutes. Because it's like, you don't get those moments. You don't get the, like today I picked my little one up from school and she's like, "Dad, you come so early all the time. Oh, I hate you." I was like, "Ari, don't ever say you hate me. You can dislike me, but hate is such a strong word." She's like, "But you tell some wrestlers you hate them." I go, "Well, yeah, but that's different, buddy. That's work. There's work and then there's real life. So you can't say hate in real life. You got to be careful about that." So then she started crying and then I bought her a chocolate bar and life is good. So, and my final question is, who has the worst sense of humor? Like who tells dad jokes and they're not
JT
funny?
Kirk.
Yeah?
JT fucking Kirk. Yep.
Oh yeah.
That New Brunswick trip, there were some things that came out of that man's mouth where I was just like, why? Why did you even just say that?
Give me a dad joke. Give me your best dad joke.
I'm the person that's like on the spot. I have to be in the moment,
Yeah.
and it just randomly happens.
Wow. Okay.
Or
Yeah.
he'll just like shit talk people. Like he'll be so quiet the whole time, and then the first thing he'll say, he'll just shit talk somebody, and everybody's like,
It'll like be a bomb that dropped. It'd be out of nowhere, but it would be so perfectly timed.
Oh, you're the Hiroshima of the group, eh? You're the one that's a one-shot kill, eh, motherfucker?
my wittiness is at specific times of the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
He's got
can't
a
plan on that stuff.
Clock of wittiness. All right. In terms of this crazy business of wrestling, finding those true friendships and brotherhoods and sisterhoods and stuff like that is few and far between, because a lot of people think that the camaraderie is real, but sometimes there's real heat, and you're not always going to see eye to eye with people. How do you guys keep yourself in checks in terms of like carrying yourself? Like I've always seen you three, you're on the up and up, completely professional, sweethearts. I could bust Matt's chops and he doesn't shrug a shit, because that's the relationship that we have. But why are you making that face? Don't make that face. How do you steer clear of the drama? Because I mean, some locker rooms have it, some don't, but drama in wrestling is very, very real.
it's one thing, man, communication. I think the communication between us three is huge. If one of us is acting out of line, the other two will tell the fucking one to smarten the fuck up. Like it's one of those things where we all have to keep each other in line. We all have to keep each other in check, because we're all after the same goal at the end of the day. We want to be the best we can be. We don't want to be better than our last day. So it's like, to do that, we got to be on top of each other. We can't bullshit each other either. If we shit the bed, if we suck, we got to tell each other that, and we always do. So I think it's one of those things where, because of the communication we have as a trio, as not just in wrestling but as friends, I think that's something where no matter what, at the end of the day, we're always going to communicate that to each other.
Right on. And another question, because like you said, you mentioned a lot of factions don't really have two guys and a girl. You do 3 guys, 4 guys, or in the case of NWO Black and White, every member of the fucking wrestling world at one point or another was a member of NWO. But I mean, do you guys feel that you're breaking barriers, changing the landscape with the fact of having this dynamic of the 2 and 1?
So I know when we brought Crystal in, that was one of the thought process with me and Matt, is it's something different. We'd stand out more if we had a badass woman in our group as well.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the Crystal, like, I think the dynamic was there where, like, she already had the look that fit us, and then because we were such good friends, it was just a no-brainer. And like, I think when it comes to us three, there's no questioning anything either. And I think, you have teams where like they want to go in different directions, they have different ideas, but like it's almost like JT's thinking what I'm thinking, Crystal's thinking what I'm thinking before we even say it. And it's something where like the communication sometimes doesn't even need to be there, because we're already thinking it.
I like that. I think that's good to have that vibe, that wavelength of being able to call each other's moves ahead of time, or just give that look in the ring, and you're like, okay, we're setting up for this.
Yeah.
How cool is it to incorporate those triple team moves? Because in trios wrestling now, triple team moves is like a thing, and incorporating those is so much fun when done right. A triple team move, much like a double team and tag team, can be fucking poetry in motion.
I know me and Matt, the gears are always moving in our head. I'm not so sure about Crystal, but yeah, we're always thinking of different moves, different sequences, different whatever.
Crystal, what
Yeah,
about you?
I would say like,
Sorry, man.
I would say this quickly, like that I think the same thing, where like I know Crystal's always kind of thinking of ways to add into our already existing tag moves.
Crystal?
Yeah, I think now, because I've been in Empire for a bit now, like I do look at wrestling a little bit differently, and I watch like trios matches of like, okay, like how can we make that kind of spot more like Empire-esque, right? So like now being a part of it, like I'm looking at wrestling a little bit differently, because I'm not only a singles competitor or a tag team, it's trios, right? So yeah, I'm just it's cool to think of wrestling in a different aspect, right?
Absolutely. When you look at again, the factions in Ontario and starting to build, wouldn't it be awesome to get to a point where you can literally have a whole card of just factions? Like just a
Like-
one-off show of just factions facing factions facing factions.
Like a Canadian King of Trios show or something like that.
Absolutely. Do you guys think we're at the forefront of that with all these factions kind of coming to light, especially here in the Ontario scene? Could we have an Ontario? You know,
We definitely have enough to do at least a 8-team tournament for sure, or something like that.
Yeah, I'm just kind of processing right now. Like, I can think of like 5, 6 trios off the top of my head, and that's just like prominent trios. That's not like, diving into specific promotions. So yeah, no, like the faction game is definitely upping. I think even when you look on the TV aspect of things, there's a lot of factions on TV too. There's a lot of factions picking up on the WWE and the AEW scale. So I think, yeah, I would love for that to be a thing. In fact, book it.
I'm okay to book it. I would love to be the person that calls that. And yes, Matt, I will accept your invitation. I will be the 4th member of Empire. No. Look at it. He's not even breaking. Look at him. He's not even breaking a fucking smile. Wow.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. You don't get anything out of me for that one.
Wow. So if there was ever an opportunity to bring in a 4th member, I wouldn't be considered. My application would be denied.
You would be at the bottom of the barrel.
Oh. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll go start my own faction. I'll call it Fallen Empire. Oh. Yeah.
Shots
all right.
fired.
Shut up.
That was one of your better moments.
Yeah, that was a JT Kirk moment right there. That was the witty side of stuff. My final question, in terms of I mean, everyone has that glass ceiling, and then you punch through and you level up and you keep progressing. Are you guys at the stage of another level up, another evolution in the terms of where you want to go in your careers as a trios and solely? Like, do you have goals you want to hit before the end of this year?
I know not necessarily by the end of this year. I think there's specific things that are holding us away from that at the moment, but I think by the end of next year, I think you're going to see the 3 of us from Brother Earth doing a lot more stateside travel, a lot more
Fantastic.
outside of Ontario stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love Ontario independent wrestling, and I always will be near and dear to my heart. But to succeed in this game, you have to branch yourself out. You have to believe in yourself. You have to bet on yourself. And I think us leaving Ontario and doing more stuff, outside of Ontario is the next step and the next level up. So
I like it. I like the vibe. I love the the focus and keeping your eyes on the prize. JT, do you have anything to add to that, or do you agree with what Matt said? Is there anything else you want to add to it?
No, not really. Yeah, we're just trying to get noticed. I know we have to go to the States to have more of a possibility for that. And just, yeah, like I said, take over the world, branch out from Ontario, and go from there.
Absolutely. The Animaniacs taking over the world because you can't because that was 2, you guys are 3. Very clear. Crystal, any personal goals for yourself maybe by the end of this year, or goals for the faction that is Empire?
Yeah,
no.
Hello, it's your boy. Hello. Oh, okay. He's hanging out now. So yeah, it's the name of the game is travel, right? And getting over to the States. Like, I have a couple bookings in the States at the end of this year, beginning of next year. They are singles, but hopefully bring the boys over after that. But yeah, just like more merch, more travel. I would love to see more of Canada even, right? Like, I know the BC scene right now is booming. There's some really great promotions out there, and that's always been like a dream place of mine to go and wrestle and stuff. But also, like, I would love to go and train at other gyms as well, like learn from other people. Like Matt said before, you never stop learning. So I would love to just sit under other people's learning trees, like even go to Ohio or wherever, right? Like, so that's a big goal of mine, and I know the guys too, is just to travel and to learn and to train more and get some new tricks.
A couple things to add to that. Like, I think the scene is great right now, and I think learning from different names, like Crystal said, like going to Ohio and going to AIW, going to Chicago and going to freelance, going to New York and going to Creative Pro. Like there's all these different destinations where I think we want to hit, and I think personally, we got robbed out of a second trip to the Maritimes a couple of months ago, so. I think that's high up on the list for us is we want to get back out there and show the Maritimes what Empire is all about because we had the chance the one time and I think we just, started to show what we were about. We didn't even get the chance to show what we were about as a trio properly. So I think the Maritimes and adding more championships. We always want gold.
Yeah.
Right on. I dig it. Well, I think that's a perfect way to end the conversation. You guys are always a blast. I mean, like Matt Grant said, you never stop learning, but in his case, you definitely stopped growing. I had to redeem myself from the other fucking debacle. I couldn't just end it.
That was good. It was good.
All right, before you guys go, shout out your socials so everyone could follow the journey that is Empire. Crystal, I'll start with you.
So Instagram, Twitter, it's the same at crystalmoon_PW. You'll see lots of wrestling photos and dog photos. So it's great.
Mr. Grant?
Yeah. This past weekend we just opened up the Handshake a Team Superstore at Mississauga Flea Market. So y'all want to come by?
I bought that
I
there.
was just about to say he was literally one of our first customers. Shout out George. That was good times this past weekend and just professional wrestling. I want to grow. I want to learn. I want to travel. I want to do all the fun stuff. So follow me at Matthew Grant First Days 4. Book the faction and let's take over the fucking world at Empire Tag Team as well. EmpireTagTeam.ca.
Mr. J.T. Kirk. Oh, the whole interview. I've said it right. I'm so proud of myself.
Last but not least, like Matt said, at all platforms, I am at reject_JT. Nothing more to say other than what Matt said. Book us. We are willing to travel.
Absolutely. Trust me when I say this. If you haven't checked out their stuff, check out their stuff. Book this faction. Singles, tag team, trios. These guys knock it out of the park every time, and they give you a match to be remembered for sure. And that's coming from my heart 150%. So from everyone at Empire and the unofficial fourth member, myself, peace, love, and wrestling. We'll see you guys next time. Peace. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to tune in next week for another great episode on all available podcast platforms and hosted on Podbean. Also, check us out on YouTube at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Instagram at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Facebook at Straight Talk Wrestling, and on Twitter at _Straight Talk. And if you feel the need to buy some sweet merch, check us out on ProWrestlingTees.com.
Leaving the scene with no trace, not in my league. You out of place. I'm not at the top, I'm outer space. Can't eat with us, we're out of place. I'm doing fine, I'm feeling great. You're not my fan, you can't relate. Straight talk going state to state.